What's up, everybody? Welcome out to our 6 o'clock live stream. I'm a little tired.
To the two fat, sleepy guys in a tattoo shop.
It was a
Tired
nice
guys.
5.5 hour ride home from Norfolk, and I'm a little shot in the ass, but I'm excited because I want to go and talk about all this cool stuff that I got to do this weekend, and the people that I got to meet and hang out with, and hands down, the best convention I've ever been to. I know that you and I talked the other day, and it was we were both saying like how I felt like it was like an older school convention, and you would know more than me because I mean, while I did go to some in the '90s, I think they were like the late '90s, but you know, the coolest thing about it was that there was a lot of sociable people, man. There were like very little ego. Everything was laid out nice. The place was set up cool. And the talent was just top tier. The amount of legends that were there was mind blowing. And before we get going, does it look cool? Does it sound good? I just want to double check, man. Yeah, so you could probably turn that light down a little bit. And yeah, it does look we're a little bright. So you have to forgive us. We were really trying to, get set up quick as possible today. I will be posting some cool pictures probably within the next couple days. We can also go over some of the pictures that I have tonight, though. And, forgive us for the picture quality right this minute. I think it's because I have it on I have a different gamma setting on my camera by accident. So we're just going to flow with it, man. That's what we do here, right?
Do you want to do the spooky setup again?
No, it's not going to matter.
Okay.
It's fine, man. They want to hear us. They don't really care what we look like.
Yeah, they definitely they don't care what we look like.
If they cared, we wouldn't be here, right?
Yeah, I mean, I went to tattoo conventions all through the 90s and stuff, but I can't even imagine what it was like before that, when it was still like if you were heavily tattooed and saw another heavily tattooed person, there was like an automatic sort of like, hey man, where did you get your work? Like there was like a mutual respect or like a identification. I mean, guys like Dana, right? They probably remember when the only time you saw other heavily tattooed people
was at a convention.
Hey,
why don't you talk to the camera? I'm going to slide over here magically.
Okay.
Out of picture. And see if I can fix that real quick.
What am I doing?
Just talk about whatever.
Tonight,
talk about how the old school conventions used to be, man.
Tonight in the evening news. So it's funny, man. Like one time it took me a long time to be able to say to myself that I was a real tattooer. I mean, I was probably tattooing for 10 years before I even felt like I'd made any of my, before I really got any sand, you know what I mean? We're good now? So I was at a tattoo convention. I was at the Hot Red Tattoo Convention in Long Island, which is like,
back.
So which was like a tattoo convention where like Jack Rudy and I can't think of the name of the car club that he used to run with. But so I'm at the convention, I'm getting some food, Jack Rudy's in line behind me, and I'm like, Jesus, where's the ketchup? And he just said something funny, like, if it was a snake, it'd bite you. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
just like a friendly, like something you would just say to another person. And at that time, I just didn't have enough of, it sounds corny or whatever, but like professional esteem for myself to be able to turn around and be like, oh, thanks, man. And to feel like I could sit there and, eat some potato salad with Jack Rudy and just be like cool with him because we were both tattooers,
Yeah.
even though that's what he thought, that's how he treated me.
So, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, man, because this is one of the things that I want to bring to you guys that are listening. Anybody out there that's a tattoo artist or trying to be a tattoo artist, because I know we have some apprentices that listen to the show. Dana Brunson made like a huge point of saying during my interview with him that, when he was younger and he was coming up, he was always afraid to talk to other people. And in 76, when he was at the convention and Bob Shaw and all those guys were there, he was afraid to go talk to those guys, and he regrets it.
Yeah.
And he also said that one of the things he regrets the most, actually, was the fact that he's from Cincinnati and Stoney St. Clair was from Columbus, and he never got to go see Stoney St. Clair before he died in 1980. So if there's any message that I want to give to you guys that are listening out there in internet land, when you see these guys at conventions, don't be afraid to go walk up to them and say, hey, how you doing? What's going on? Introduce yourself. As long as you're courteous and not acting like a douchebag and all like fanning out, geeking out on them, they're going to treat you with respect and they're going to be cool as hell. And I tell you what, man, you will get to hear some amazing stories.
Yeah, so one year at the Roseland, Mike Wilson tattooed my hand. He did a Sailor Jerry Gypsy Girl. And then when he was done, he's like, hey, man, why don't you walk down here with me? And it was like Chris O'Donnell and Grimy. It was like some pretty serious tattooers, right? And I just like begged out because I was just too nerved out to like go down there and I regret the fact that I didn't have the balls to just go down there and be like, hey, and that's what it was.
The other thing that
and not like bullshit tough guy balls, but just
confidence
and like real esteem.
The other thing that I had said to Dana, because here I am, I'm interviewing somebody that's basically a legend in the industry at this point.
50-year guy.
Right.
50.
And he worked with all these big name people.
Yeah.
At some point throughout his career. And I had said to him, I said, now that you're like this legendary dude and you got to work with all these people that at the time were basically just people you worked with that are now legends, my mind doesn't compute. So it would be like I'm friends with you and, we've hung out and whatever, and all of a sudden you become this like legendary tattoo artist and everybody knows your name no matter where you're at in the world. Like, what, I don't know, would it change? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't, it doesn't make sense to me because, I don't think at that time, nobody thought that it was going to turn into what it is today. He made a point of saying that. And then he also made a point of saying that, like, look, we were just guys that were plugging along, going to work every day, doing something that we loved. And the magic happened around. Like, it just popped out of nowhere.
Even when I get world famous, dude, you still be my homie.
Cool. I hope so.
Yeah.
Don't forget about the little guys, man.
Or the little big guys. In this case.
Little big guys.
Yeah.
You know what?
So when you have to think too, man, like it's like that letter. Like I saw a letter one time that I think in one of my books that had been written between, I want to say it was Tuttle and someone else. And Tuttle was like talking about some mid-sized city, like Cincinnati or somewhere in the Midwest. And he was like, "Yeah, there's 3 tattooers here now. Like this town cannot support 3 tattooers.
Yeah.
In the wintertime. How are you going to open a show?" He was talking to the guy that was opening the shop or whatever. Like, so imagine like a tattoo world where Cincinnati couldn't support, there was so little interest in tattooing.
Right. Well, that was one of the other things that came up multiple times with different people that I talked to, where they would talk about the old days. And they were at one point, like when I was talking to Jack Rudy and we were talking about the Tattoo Heritage Project, and he was saying about like, at that in the 70s or whatever, there was like 300 tattoo shops in all of the United States. And now there's more tattoo shops than McDonald's.
17,000. That's the last number I saw.
Those are some incredible numbers. And we're going to get into the Tattoo Heritage Project. I want to make sure I touch on that tonight, so don't let me forget that.
Don't forget the Tattoo Heritage Project.
Because it's super important. I want to bring it up, and it's something that we're going to support and plug on a regular basis on this channel because, as my boy Fat Cracker says, if you're going to be about it, be about it.
Thanks for the beard oil again.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Much appreciated. But things kind of went awry with me with my schedule for this weekend.
Just to digress, so I had told you a story at Social Distortion, and I remembered it was the kid Reed that I worked with.
Yes.
So I worked with a kid named Reed, who's like Jersey boy, you know what I mean? Drove an IROC, wore a leather jacket, had a mullet, and he had gotten a piece from a really famous, innovative tattooer, right? And it was decent sized. It was here, and I think like we're probably talking like late 90s. It cost him $400, right? So the next year, Reed walks up to that tattooer and says, "Hey man, and that tattoo artist, all that he would have had to say, it always amazed me. Even if he would have been like, yo man, I don't remember your name, but I remember the work, like how you been. If he would have given Reed even the
tiniest little amount of attention
or time, whatever, I mean, Reed would have just got a bodysuit from him. He was so
enamored,
right? Dude's like, I don't fucking know you. Why are you talking to me? It's just a tattoo I did. And it doesn't matter who that was. And I can say that, from my understanding, dude's not like that anymore. He went through a time where he was like that, isn't like that anymore. But I thought, like, why? Why would you ever? I mean, Reed wasn't asking him for anything.
Fame and money does things to people. Some people can handle it, and some people can't. That's the only way I can describe it, man. Is I think that maybe that person got a little older and realized that there was no room for that attitude.
Yeah, like I remember once I ran into Lyle outside of a convention, and I was like, "Hey, man, can I get a picture?" And he was like, "No, I'm running late, and I can't do it. See me in the convention." And even that was like he at least explained a little bit.
Yeah, he gave at least a reason why.
Like, I'm running late. You know what I mean?
Well, before we keep rolling, please just give us a quick thumbs up in the chat. Just let us know we sound good. Pictures fixed. Everything's good on your end. Like and subscribe. But no, just give us a quick thumbs up in chat so I know you're good. And we, apparently I've just been informed, like official news. Apparently I've just been informed, late breaking news, that we have ads running during our live stream, and I did not know that. So I will take care of that next live stream. We'll make sure there's none running in the middle. Sorry about that.
Are they
I'm still trying to still figure out all these new things.
Are they ads for cool shit? Or is it?
It's usually like, ass cream or political.
Yeah, like for me,
politics.
For me and you, it's like
dude. Wait. So wait, I'm in the hotel room and I could watch YouTube, right? And I don't want to sign in on my YouTube account because I have to protect my YouTube account so nobody hacks it and whatever, blah blah blah, right? And I'm going and I start searching for movie or episodes of different things to watch, and I go, oh, you know what? Let me check out my channel just to see what it looks like, because I mean, I always see it from my perspective. So I go in there, and if you ever watch YouTube on TV, you'll see at the very bottom, like if you push down, it'll start to show you episodes or other stuff you could watch.
Right. What did they
Fucking Ralphie May. And I go, wait a minute. Did they go, okay, there's a fat dude on screen. Let's push some Ralphie May shit to him.
Ralphie May, yeah.
I don't want to say I was offended, but I was offended. Anyhow, I got to Norfolk, got down there.
To Norfolk, kind of stormy.
Got in there, checked in.
Stormy Thursday morning.
And did everything, and then I realized I forgot some medicines, and I had
forgotten the medicine that we were bringing.
Had to go and hey, check that out.
I don't mean to.
You're just totally fucking ruining the show. That's cool. But Sarah just gave us the super chat.
Hey.
So, like my whole schedule was jacked up because the whole point of going down there was, yes, I was on vacation and there to check it out, but I was actually working.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you guys want to think it's work or not, but I was. And the whole point was to go down there and try to get as many interviews as I possibly could, and then also bring home stuff to, show cool stuff on the channel and show you guys on the live stream tonight. And, get as many connections as I could with different people. So this way, it could turn into more and more things. And I kind of look at it like networking when I was in the music business. It was the same thing, man. Like you meet one person and that person will turn you on to 2 or 3 other different people. And, I knew I was getting tattooed on Friday, the day that it opened. And I got tattooed by Baba.
How is Baba?
He's good, man. I mean, he's a sarcastic, crotchety old dude that is funny as hell. And
did he have opinions?
He definitely had some opinions. But
that's super surprising.
Oh, dude, check it out. What's up, Mark? Hello from Mad Dog Tattoo in Bakersfield, California.
What's up, Mark?
But I got to it like first thing Friday, man. Started walking around, started talking to people, handing out cards, doing different things. Sat down to get tattooed. Baba, did a freehand, drew on my leg, and then tattooed it. Turned out to be a pretty badass tattoo. And I'll bring it up for you guys just to show you the work that he did, because I thought it was pretty awesome that he did it. Add the scene. Here you go. So here is the piece that he did. Put Norfolk in there to commemorate it, but it was also because we were laughing about the fact that it was his time at Norfolk, my first time at Norfolk. Broke the Norfolk cherry. And then
you have a sign from Norfolk, from the town of it.
Really?
Yeah, it says street girls bringing in sailors must pay for room in advance.
But
it was an ordinance.
Here's something that was so here's Ami and fucking Baba discussing my tattoo as I was sitting there laying on the table like a fat pig at Thanksgiving. And how was that?
I don't know.
But yeah, man. And
what was he like?
Ami, dude, he was super cool with me. I didn't get any attitudes or anything from him. I mean, look, the dude was on TV, had a little successful run at the whole Miami Ink thing, and You know, him and Garver and Corey Miller and a couple other dudes that I don't remember, but you know, uh, handed him a card and was like, "Hey, man, if you ever want to let me interview," I mean, I doubt I'll ever do it, but
Who
why not?
knows?
But then at that point, after I got done, so where I was going with this, by the way, is as I was sitting there with Baba, there were all these pretty big name artists that kept walking up, and he didn't even bat an eyelash, and he was just like, "Yo, here's my boy Buck. He has a YouTube channel. You should check him out. You should do an interview with him." And then it turned into, "Hey, you got a card?" And I was like, "Matter of fact, I do." And I just was kept reaching in my pocket, and I was, but it just was a very cool experience for me to start to kind of gain access to some of those inner circle people. I'm tired as hell, man. Like I said, the show was ran very well though, and all there was tattooing. There were different people that were doing signs. I think there was like one supplier there, and then what's it, Bezel Books?
Bezel Books, Wendy Bezel.
She was there.
Bezel.
Um,
Who's a sweetheart, by the way. If you want to buy any books,
yeah, I mean, if you're looking for any book that has to do with the tattoo history or Flash related, I'm pretty sure she has it.
Yeah.
You know, and then I went to a seminar on Saturday morning, or no, I'm sorry, it was Friday evening with Chuck Eldridge.
How was it?
It was awesome. I'm glad I went. I'm glad I actually spent the time to talk to Chuck. I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag. I've been kind of avoiding Chuck Eldridge up until this point.
I don't think avoiding is the right word. I think
staying under the radar.
Respectfully staying in your lane.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because Chuck is the guy for history. But Chuck also owns all the pictures that I always need. So I have to do extra searching.
You mean like all the pictures? Just check.
I mean, like literally every time.
Oh, yeah.
Every time you pull up a tattoo picture that you need, there's a stamp on there that says Tattoo Archive, and you got to respect that. But I can't use those because I have to make sure that I'm not, posting and
unless you ask permission, right?
Or I could do that, which he did give me permission.
Nice, dude.
He also gave me some very cool tips and tricks on how to extend my research in a more efficient, accurate way. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Billboard magazine has been around for like ever. And apparently Billboard back in the day was used by traveling tattoo artists, and they would run an ad in Billboard, and they would have an address, and it was an address at Billboard, and all their mail would get sent there, and they would get forwarded to wherever their next town was going to be. So if they were selling Flash or like Zeiss, not that he traveled, but I was trying to give an example. So he was saying that you can actually look in the Billboard archives to look up all that stuff. And then he was like, yeah, if you do this, this, and this, you can actually get even more information. And I'm not going to give those tips away because I need to hold some cards to myself. I can't be. There's these new history channels that are popping up that are, so we're not going to talk about that though. But yeah. So
there was actually in Skin and Ink years ago. There was this. They did this cartoon about how this tattooer created this fake tattoo persona, right? And marketed himself as this fake tattoo persona. And then he's like meeting all these tattooers at a convention, and he sees Eldridge in the cartoon, and he in the comic strip he ducks away.
Yeah.
And that was that was saying that Chuck would know. Like for a long time, that was kind of the mantra. Chuck knows. You got a
Yeah.
question? Chuck would know.
And to be honest with you, now a lot of people are going to Dana Brunson.
Yeah.
And they're also going to Michelle at Daredevil, especially for New
New York.
York. For New York stuff, Michelle is like a walking encyclopedia about the Bowery. Anybody that tattooed in the Bowery, she actually knows addresses off the top of her head. Like during the seminar at one point, Chuck had said something about Eldridge, or sorry, about I don't remember what artist it was in the Bowery, and was like, I was 32 and a half was the address. You know what I mean? And I was just like, damn, because I was actually sitting next to Michelle and Richie Montgomery. And I'm like, just for her to, like, I've done research on people. And I you know, if you asked me like a deep dive question about George Burchett, who I did an episode on, I probably wouldn't remember it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that always kind of blows my mind that, you know, people are able to, it's like the dudes that do, that know baseball stats.
Right.
Like off the top of their head, and they're like, "Oh, in 1952, Joe DiMaggio hit home runs or whatever." I don't know.
And what that was, you know, interestingly enough, is that if a they used to call them walk-ups, the Bowery walk-ups, right? And if there were like two stores or like a partition on the first floor, you might get like a half. You know what I mean? They're doing, so you know, they're cutting hair back here, but up here they're doing this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I forget who I was talking to.
Was it Joe? Which one was it? Was it like was it Lou? Was it Millie Hall? Was it
So Millie Hall was not upstairs, but it,
because there's a story about Wagner where he said, if you want it done well, go down the street to Lou.
yeah. But yeah, man. You know, so a lot of cool shit happened this weekend. That you know, I'm gonna have some cool interviews that I taped. I got 3 completed, and made some great connections. Um, hopefully, some of those connections come through, and we'll see what happens. But you know, for me though, it was just cool to be there and be a part of it. And you know, I would definitely go back again, and I highly suggest if you're looking to ever travel to do a convention.
I want to go to London.
Yeah, that would be cool too.
I want to go to London.
You know, I didn't know that the what was it the World Tattoo Museum or whatever that Hanky Panky had.
In Amsterdam?
I think it's closed. I'm pretty sure I heard somebody say it was closed, and for whatever reasons, financial reasons or whatever. But that's why they're here in the States, though. They're making this big push for the Heritage Project, the Tattoo Heritage Project.
So not to be like weird, but I think that these guys are becoming. I imagine these guys are becoming more accessible now because, I mean, it's like what Mike Swaggart says. You know, nobody wants to get tattooed by the old guy in the shop. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Like it's an industry that sort of focuses on younger people, and it's definitely an industry that I hate to say industry.
Craft.
In the new tattooing model, I mean, tattoo artists eat their own now.
Well, I will say,
and as these like old timers are like, I don't know if people like I'm just as tired as you are, but for a different reason. I guess there was a time when if you wanted to be seen as a legitimate tattooer, part of it was knowing your roots and knowing your history and knowing who came where and being able to talk about that stuff. And now that is completely off the board. There's a whole new school of tattooers that just don't care.
So
I'm not saying that all new school tattooers don't care. I'm not saying all. I'm not making generalizations. I'm just saying there's new.
So that was brought up a bunch of times this weekend, and here's
the
my
youngsters?
take. Here's my take from what I got. Um, there were there's no ill will from any of the older guys that are the top tier dudes, and they all said that if somebody is serious about the craft, eventually they're going to pick up a book and start to learn the history of the craft. It might not be right now. They might be caught up in the whole, glitz and glam of it right this minute. But eventually, they're going to start to look inward to understand where this came from. And another thing that I really started to realize is that shops with Flash are starting to make a comeback, where it kind of went to that point where there were still handfuls of street shops, walk-in shops, whatever you guys want to call them,
Tattoo shops.
where they're, but yeah, essentially, right? But they turned into where there was like no Flash because nobody wanted it anymore, and that's starting to make a comeback. And while people did say that while I was there, I also noticed it while I was flipping through Instagram at night. You know what I mean? Before I would go to bed, and there was shops that were promoting, the fact that they had Flash on the walls, and I was like thinking to myself, well, Justin's had Flash on the walls ever since I've known him. Like, you've never gone away from that. But it's that whole secular thing, right? Where it's coming back around, and there were a lot of these guys that were like saying that they felt as though American traditional stuff was really starting to come back around again.
So it's like there's guys in Philly, right, who maybe 20, 25 years ago, would be heard to say something like, "I won't do a panther head because that's BS. That's this and that." But eventually, they came around to it because in the end, I honestly believe that there's a certain kind of tattoo that looks best, that's most suited to the machine, most suited to the skin, and we all seem to arrive at sort of the same places eventually. A lot of us
Well,
do.
a lot of those guys too were talking about the fact that they really don't feel like they don't have any ill will towards people that use pens. They're just like, it's just not for me. And the one thing I want to note to all of you listening right now was Justin and I talked about 8 months ago, where we were saying, and like, we went to the convention up North Jersey, and you didn't hear any noise at all. That's all you heard when you walked in the door. So it was pretty crazy. Like, as soon as you cracked that door open, it was bzzz. So let's give a couple shout outs to people that are actually listening and hanging out with us tonight. So what's up? We got Liz in the house, Nikki C, Fat Cracker.
Fat Cracker.
Sarah's in the house. Sarah already gave the $2 super chat, so that's awesome.
The Beatniks. There was the Beatniks. That was the car club.
We got Chris in the house.
Chris.
P Fizz.
Paul Fizz.
We got Mark
Fizzalicious.
Mark D. Leone, who is a tattoo artist. That was the guy from Mad Dog out in Bakersfield. Got Drag in the house. We got Shiro Kimba in the house.
Hola.
And right, that's about it. But I got a bunch of comments, so let's get into some comments.
Tom?
Yo, what's up, Tom? Yeah, Tom just rolled in. So yeah, man, we got our regulars in here, which is cool.
So the thing with depends, right? Before you throw that up, I'm the same way, man. But like, I have tubes. Like, I have metal tubes that I've been using now for decades that have potentially put on hundreds of tattoos. Like, why would I ever? I mean, I'm so familiar with my machines at this point, and I've been using them for so long. They're just like,
that was one of the things that most of the guys that talked about it said, like, they had no issues with the pens. If you want to use the pens, that's on you, whatever. This is what I'm comfortable with. This is what I've used my whole career. And then they would throw in the last little asterisks. And they were like, look, if my machine breaks down within 20 minutes, I could rebuild it and I'm right back up and running. If a pen breaks down, unless you got another pen.
And I mean, not for nothing. Like, not for nothing is, to my understanding, the pens were created for cosmetic work, and we don't know.
Mm.
We don't know. I mean, we know what a rotary machine and what a coil machine, how that's going to last.
One more thing I forgot that I was going to bring up earlier, and we got into something else. I actually had 2 young cats walk up to me while I was in the convention. I was walking to go interview somebody, and they came up and they recognized me, and I wound up giving them the tattoos and review sticker. And I couldn't remember if they said they watched the episodes or the live stream. So if you're out there listening, man, thank you. I was like, dude, that's awesome, man. You're the first people to recognize me out and about while I was, that wasn't an artist that I already knew.
Right.
So I was just like, wow, this is pretty cool, man. And I gave them some stickers and stuff. So I gave them each 2. I was like, yeah, man, keep one for yourself and stick one of those other ones everywhere. Wherever you can stick it, promote the show, man. So Mark said, it's a slow Sunday at the shop. Happy to catch you live for once. Drag said, hey, greetings, amigos.
Greetings, brother.
Mark also said, I was told about the billboard thing, but I didn't quite understand how it worked. So I just was kind of floored that little piece of information could really like lock down me going down rabbit holes to get information on a lot of these people, man. That's pretty awesome. Shiro said, hey, yo, guys. Fat Cracker said London and Frankfurt. So he was talking about 2 conventions he would like to go to. Mark said, that is true. I'm 55 and I'm sitting here doing nothing.
What the fuck?
Fat Cracker said Gods of Ink convention. So that's another one.
Wait. Before Gods of Ink.
Yeah, but I heard that is really good. Mark said, we'll put that one up on screen. No one cares about history. It's all about weed, hip hop, and also hipster traditional fake guys. All ill will for me. Drag said, I did work today. Fat Cracker said also Tokyo convention, which I will never go to because there's no way I'm sitting on a plane that long. That is a long ass or a long.
Do you think you would have a hard time in Japan because of your issue?
With little people?
Yeah.
Probably. Not gonna lie. Dude, my buddy him and his wife want to see Brad Williams down in Atlantic City, and I was like, wait a minute. I go, is that little dude? And he was like, yeah. And I go, nope. Not gonna see that. Tattoo flash on sneakers in the works. I actually talked to Justin about that, Fat Cracker. So how's your new tattoo? Everything fine? Everything is great, man. Super, super light handed. I was shocked. I thought he was going to be,
He tattooed the ditch on the back of my leg. It wasn't that bad.
I got a panther on my face and hand. Ha ha ha. I'm an all street shop. So Mark DeLeon said, I'm an all, Jesus Christ. I'm an all street shop full of flash shop walk-in only. People would rather wait months for some half-assed kid to do the work. Fate Tat Wizards. Nice. Chris said, if a shop doesn't have flash, I'm not interested. And then Fat Cracker said, nice, I'm getting recognized. Oh, nice, I'm getting recognized. Yeah, man, it was cool, dude. I was
gratifying.
I was a little, if there was ever a time this weekend that I was like all fanboying out, that was probably it. Because I was like, holy shit, dude, somebody recognized me. Gods of Ink in Frankfurt. And Micah Stone said, we care about history in this community. Amen.
Yep.
That's why you're here, dude. So, yeah, man. Let's, you guys cool if we share some more pictures? I got some cool ones. this one I really wanted to show you as well. I forgot to do the raffle for this, and I'm kind of pissed off that I forgot to do it. So they're actually raffling this off, and it was going off today at 2 o'clock. That's why I didn't do it, because I wasn't going to be there when they did it. But they were raffling this off. It is the original sign that hung out in front of Coleman's shop, and all the proceeds for the raffle, they were $20 a pop, were going to Brad Bruno, who passed away, to his family. I totally would have, if they were putting it, like doing it on Saturday night or whatever, I would have totally done it. And I told Justin, I sent him a picture of it, and I said, yo, man, if I win this, we're going to put this in your shop, because I got nowhere to put it. And then I have, I'll just kind of go down the line. So this was a cool pic that I took, and I wound up actually doing this today, but I want to show you all. So they did give a cool little map of where the shops were in Norfolk, and also the grave sites for Paul Rogers, Coleman, Lady Leonora Platt, Andy Stutz, who was in a picture that is pretty well known with Wagner.
You want to know some fun Coleman facts?
Sure.
So Coleman had a bodysuit, and from my understanding, it was hand poked on him by his father, and it was a bodysuit.
So
I mean, he was completely.
There was a mention about the father thing. There was a picture that used to hang in his shop, and it was Samuel O'Reilly and this other dude. And Coleman used to tell everybody that it was his dad.
Nice.
And Chuck kind of felt like that wasn't necessarily true. It was just one of those things for Coleman to kind of like strum up the, you know what I mean? But let me show you. So I showed you guys the map. I want to share with you guys some really cool pictures that I took today, man. And I'm super stoked that I got to do this. But here is actually a picture. Hold on. Wrong one. Bear with me, folks.
So Coleman was also like a notorious cheapskate. And one of the things he would do is he would buy canned goods where the labels had been torn off, like in shipping, where you could buy like normally what was like a 5-cent can and whatever would be like a penny or whatever. So he'd buy like scratch and dent can sales and not know what was in them. And he was pretty famous for just opening them up and being like, dinner time, whatever it was. And I think that he also, like, if anybody's heard anything different than this, but from what I understand, is that towards the end, if you weren't done with your tattoo and it was quitting time, he just quit.
That is true.
And
Chuck talked about that during the seminar, where he said didn't matter. If it was 5 o'clock, he was out the door. He would go home and eat dinner with his wife every night, no matter what. He'd tell you, come back tomorrow or whatever. And that was it. I mean, he kind of seemed like he was pretty an eccentric type of dude. I want to share this all with you guys because I thought this was really cool, man. And I was super honored to do this today. Here's a picture of Coleman's grave. I made a special trip out there to go to the grave site. And you could see on here, man, there was all kinds of cool little trinkets, man. Somebody had this little, it was like a little hand-carved tattoo machine. It was super cool. I have a close-up picture of it. I'll post it on my Instagram or whatever. But I got to go there today, and I actually got to go there and meet up with Dana Brunson, his wife Dot, and there was 3 other tattoo artists. And forgive me, I can't remember their names.
Can you grab one side? I'll grab the other.
But they were able to do this, and hopefully you guys can see that.
It's a grave rubbing of Coleman stone.
This is an awesome grave headstone rubbing that I got, and I'm actually going to frame that and put it in my house. I don't know, man. It was this totally weird feeling to be there, and dude, oh yeah, it's $10 super chat from
Thank you,
Mark. Thanks,
Mark.
man. Much appreciated, dude.
Thanks.
Much appreciated.
Bakersfield, huh? I always wanted to go to California.
But that wasn't the only grave that I visited. We also visited Lenora Platt. And so Lenora Platt was the only female tattoo artist in Norfolk. She tattooed there, I think, I don't remember how many years Chuck said she was there. But I was actually curious, and I'm going to look into it, and Chuck said he would also too. If she was from Pittsburgh. Platt is a big name in Pittsburgh. There's actually, it's called the Platt Bridge. So I'm just kind of curious if she was from that area or not.
There's a town where I'm from called Plattsburgh.
Plattsburgh?
Plattsburgh.
Okay. Yeah. So we got to do those, and then I have one more to share with you guys today. Made it over to E.J. Miller, Professor E.J. Miller.
Professor.
He was a very well-known, respected tattoo artist in the Norfolk community. They were all located on Main Street in Norfolk, and they all were on the north side of the street. So all their numbers of their shops ended in an odd number. And Chuck Eldridge was saying that he wasn't sure if it was like that because of zoning, or they just did it so they could all be on the same side of the street and there was like this healthy competition that was happening. But to me, man, like I was sitting there thinking about it and I was just like, dude, I can't. It blows my mind when I think about the Pike. It blows my mind when I think about the Bowery and all those legendary tattoo artists that are around in the same spot. And then here I am in Norfolk, a whole nother town where it's like the same thing, man, where these guys that, people from all over would do correspondence with Coleman, travel to see Coleman. It just was so cool, man. And to be honest with you, man, to be there in his town, it made me sit and think, do you think he's like looking over there going, hell yeah, man, this is, you know what I mean? Like, this is what I started.
So there's a story I heard one time about how Coleman brought Paul Rogers in because people would see Rogers' work and they would think it was Coleman's. Like Rogers was doing such good. If you don't know, the Coleman style particularly is, heavy lines, black shading. He was known for saying you shouldn't have to stand on your head to see what a tattoo looks like. You should be able to see it from across the street. So Coleman brings in Rogers, and Rogers had come up in the cotton mills. I can't remember where that was necessarily, but Rogers came up in a place where, like, if a guy needed help, you
Helped him.
You helped him. So that was like a little bit of a rub between Coleman and Rogers, because a guy might show up at Coleman's shop and be like, "Oh man, my power supply is down." We're not talking about when you just ordered up for another power supply. I mean, you
had to jump through hoops to get it.
Yeah, or fix it. And because Rogers had a knack for machining, he would either fix the guy's power supply or lend the guy a power supply until he got his fixed. And Coleman was like, not really, not really about that.
Because I think that
But Rogers was from that place where, like, poor working people, where if I got
yeah,
if I got a loaf of bread and you're hungry, you get half.
that's my one regret that from this weekend is that I didn't get out to Paul Rogers' gravesite. I would have loved to have done that and got did a rubbing on that
Yeah, I mean,
headstone, man. I mean, that would have been awesome. But the one cool thing that did happen this weekend that apparently has never happened before was Paul Rogers' granddaughter
granddaughter, yeah.
showed up, and Dana Brunson. Obviously, we just said. I mean, the dude's worked with Cliff Raven and Tuttle, and I mean, like he was around all these heavy hitter people, and there was a lot of heavy hitter people there at this show. He was more excited to meet Paul Rogers' granddaughter than anybody else. You could see, like, he was so excited to talk about that. Like, you could see his face light up.
Because there was a time where, like, if you got to a certain place in your tattooing, you did the pilgrimage to Florida. I think it was Florida at the time, to the shed out back of Paul Rogers' house, and you got Paul Rogers made machines.
Yeah.
But that was like something that you had to be like, you had to be given the password, and you had to sacrifice a chicken,
Yeah.
Sacred alphabet stuff.
I think that there's going to be a point where I try to do a Norfolk episode, history episode. I think it's going to have to be very well put together. I got to make sure I have my facts straight and everything's accurate. But I feel like if I did, it would be one of those episodes where like I would put a little extra effort, heart into it because of the significance of Norfolk and American traditional tattooing.
Yeah, that's like doing a Bowery episode. You gotta be on tight with that.
Yeah. I mean, and I thought I did okay with that Bowery. It was basically a Charlie Wagner episode, but it was,
I thought so.
for all intents and purposes, Bowery episode. Um, man, I had a lot of people that saw the Pike one and that are from California and loved it. They thought it was amazing, and they were like, "Man, well, some of the stuff you dug up was just awesome."
I saw this video that Inked Magazine put out, and I guess it was a couple years ago. The little Inked Magazine shorts on YouTube, and it was like some tattooers taking a quiz. I don't know if you've ever seen this one or not.
Mm-mm.
And they didn't do that well. They didn't. They didn't do well at all.
Well,
And it kind of gave me insight to the fact that there really is a whole portion of tattooers that it's just not important to them.
right. So our moderator Nikki did say that Lenora Platt was born in PA. Both her parents died in Pittsburgh. So, dude, there you go, man. As soon as
Sunny, it's a sunny town. When I think of Pittsburgh, I think of great open green areas.
Not when I was a kid. It is now. I mean, it's beautiful now. But when I was a kid, man, it was dirty from the steel mills. Mark said, East Coast cares about tattooing in California is so different as far as I can see. I took care of Sailor Barney before he passed away and showed me so much. But it seems the history is fading away. Well, Mark, that's where this show and my channel comes in, man. I'm making a point of trying to bring some of the history back into the fold through modern ways, by doing this on YouTube and pushing it out there. And look, Me and Justin have talked about this. I've actually had this conversation with Fat Cracker. It would be real, and I actually talked about this weekend with Joe Capabianco, because Joe is doing his thing with his Nothing for Nothing podcast or whatnot. And it would be super easy for me to focus on all the hot, brand new, big name artists that are blowing the doors off of, Instagram with all these crazy photos, and get a shit ton of views and a boatload of subscribers. But to me, it would almost be soul sucking, because that's not what I'm about. Like, the history of it is more important than that. Yeah, man, you know what, dude? I'm probably shooting myself in the foot, and I could be, my channel could be huge. This show could be huge. We could have more than, 15 people sitting here watching us right now. But would it really be us?
No.
It would be like we'd be selling out just to, and call it the old punk mentality or whatever. But I'm just not about it, man. I don't think I could do it. It's not for me, man. Um, it is what it is. History's important to me.
And that reminds me of something too. Like I think part of it is that the youngsters, like, I think it's off-putting how hard it was, the environment when say we came up, and definitely before when we came up. Like when you did the one episode where you talked about how like so and so went and saw Phil Sparrow because there was a rumor that if
Yeah,
you know, and like that's like a seedy kind of thing, and talking about it is not approval of it. It's just saying that this is what it was, right? But I think like some of the youngsters, like, just they can't reconcile that tattooing at one point was a seedy, dangerous place.
yeah.
Like
Well,
when we went into tattoo shops as kids, I feel like if I was intimidated, there was a reason I
right.
was intimidated.
There's also, though, there are people, and Chuck Eldridge is one of them, that tries to, and this isn't a bash on Chuck, but they'll leave some of that seedy stuff out because they don't want it to.
Taint.
Right.
Yeah.
And they were saying that even when, Cliff Raven was trying to do this program where I forget what university it was in California, they were trying to make it into this art form. It was, that these college students would learn about it. Um, they really felt like that's where the whole, like, Cliff Raven not talking about him being gay was a factor, because they felt like if it got brought into the fold, then it would add this extra seediness that was already there to the craft. And I just was like, because we live in the time we're at now, we're like, we don't really give a shit who you're sleeping with. It don't matter. It's none of my business. But to have that, and hear that, it was just like, wow. But to even put an extra spin on that, I did the Roy Boy episode, and I had guys that were like, they didn't even talk about the episode. They wanted to focus on the fact that they were like, oh, so you're saying it was okay, he was grooming this 16-year-old, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, dude, what? Like, no, I didn't say that to begin with. And I'm like, I felt like saying to them, hey, man, if that's what you're really focusing on, why are you here?
Yeah, like reporting on it, that this is the fact of what happened.
Right. It's not like I'm saying, hey, man, this is awesome. I just was presenting facts.
Yeah.
And
Like,
then I took it even a step further, because I didn't want to go back and forth with these people, because I don't know if they're looking to start shit or if they're actually just throwing it out. I don't know. I actually presented another piece of fact to that discussion, and I gave them the actual law for the state of Indiana from 1973 to 1997. You were legally allowed to marry as a male at 18 years old and as a female at 16 years old. Enough said. takes a. I don't know what else to tell you, man. It
I
kind of
mean,
annoys me that I gotta.
and I mean, and the idea that the tattoo shop doors never got closed, the curtains drawn, and the cocaine and the booze and the strippers showed up,
Right.
and the party had started. Like like the things that happened, and that was just part of tattooing.
Well, because it's been so sanitized at
Yeah,
this point, and
and
it's really not what it was about. And if you ask any of these old timers, they'll tell you that the only reason the industry, and I hate calling it that, but for this conversation, we're going to call it
the
that.
industry.
The only reason the industry stayed afloat during the 70s and 80s was because of bikers, strippers, and other seedy individuals.
Right.
Because regular people during that time frame were not getting tattooed.
Like
So,
why did the metal guys in the 80s get tattooed?
right. So, like you could sit there and sanitize it as much as you want, but in reality, when it comes down to it, is the only reason it's still a thing right now is because of that seedy stuff that happened during that time frame. Nobody's saying that it was acceptable. Nobody was saying it was right. It's just the facts. And people need to get over themselves and stop trying to create something that's not there.
We're trying to pretend that by saying that this is what happened, it's some kind of tactic or some kind of endorsement. We're
And
not endorsing that this is.
not at all.
We're
All
not
I'm
in.
doing is just presenting facts.
Yeah, I mean, we're the opposite. We're like, we're clean,
And the other thing is too, man,
clean and
if
sober.
I if any one of those people that had that comment towards the whole Roy Boy thing would actually stop and maybe even reach out to Deb and have a conversation with her, because I've seen interviews of her after Roy passed away. She actually considers him to be like the light of his life, or her life. Sorry. So I don't know, man. It just seems like people want to focus on the wrong crap sometimes, man, and it's just it kind of irritates me, but it is what it is. I am a firm believer that you can't please everybody, so you just got to please the ones that are here every week and paying attention to what we're doing. So, I got two more things I want to share, and then we can get into other stuff. I know we're running up against it, but I don't want to have to turn this into a second episode. Um,
Oh,
I was able to buy the book off of the Brunson family, man, and it's the tattoo history. It's the Brunson family collection, and
look, I got it balanced on my belly.
Dana has an amazing amount of tattoo history in his collection, and I'm super stoked that I bought the book. Um, the money actually supports his grandson, their son, who was also a tattoo artist and was also a very famous graffiti artist. Passed away a couple years ago, and all the money that they collect off of this book is going to get donated, or put into an account for the grandson. And they said at some point, the whole collection is going to wind up going to the grandson. So,
And as a tattoo book connoisseur, right? I am a tattoo book connoisseur. This is definitely, if you have a chance to get your hands on this, this is a could be a very foundational book about tattoo history and examples of more obscure tattoo art.
yeah,
Like there is some Jerry stuff in here. There is some like more common stuff, but there's also a lot of guys in here and really good examples of sheets from artists that I've heard of, but didn't really see many examples of their work.
yeah. I'm super stoked to own it. It's going to go on my shelf, and um, Dana was nice enough to do a cool doodle on the inside and sign it for me, and you know, man, I wanted it because I saw the pictures and stuff in it, and then he told me that the money was going to his grandson, and I was like, dude, that made it even more worth it for me to buy.
And that is the motivation of every tattoo artist when it comes to books. I wanted it because I saw the pictures in it.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Absolutely, dude.
I interviewed Joey Knuckles from Columbus. He is the executor, I guess we could call it, of most of Stony St. Clair's stuff. It was an interesting interview, and hopefully I'll be. I'm going to definitely put out the interview, but hopefully I'll do a full Stony St. Clair episode as well.
And if you're interested in Stony, there's on YouTube. There's portions of a movie called Stony Knows How.
Yes.
Which is like sort of a documentary that was made about him.
Which the guy that made that documentary did it as a project for university.
Mm-hmm.
And come to find out, man, I mean, like, he was ahead of the time, ahead of the curve with essentially doing the very first, or one of the first, let's say, tattoo documentaries, man.
So there was a punk band from I guess it was Columbus. Is that where Stony was from?
Yeah.
And their 45 was 2 songs, Stony Knows How and I Don't Want to Die a Virgin.
It's called Tom. It's called Tattoo Memories: The Brunson Family Collection, and he basically put a good portion of their stuff that they have in their shop. They have original Ben Corday, Wagner stuff. I mean, it's a pretty heavy duty collection, and he included a lot of this stuff in there, man. George Burchett. So, it's really cool. If you ever get a chance to buy it, I mean, they only made so many copies. It's going to be ran once and that's it. So they said they were only going to do one run of the series, but or not series, the book. Yeah. So I mean, Chris said that I found the whole documentary on YouTube. So the Stony Knows How is, and there's also a second part, or I guess like a follow up episode.
Stony St. Clair, tattooer of the old school.
It was right on the tip of my tongue, man. But they made a second part to that, and once I figure it out, I'll post it. But the reason I brought that up, though, was we were talking about younger tattoo artists and stuff like that. Joey Knuckles was like, whether people want to believe it or not, you're a salesman. Tattooers are salesmen.
Carnival barkers.
You're selling a product. You're trying to get people in the door to get tattooed. You're a salesman.
But I think that there's a difference. There's a difference. It's like the thing of the tattooer that uses social media versus the social media influencer that uses tattooing. Those are 2 different things.
Well, I think that there's just a whole new level of publicity now that wasn't around before. And, look, I think that there's people out there that are trying to utilize it the best they can. Some people just do it better than others.
Joey did a good video, I think, I'm going to say like 6 weeks ago. He did a short about like, he was basically like, it was him and his guys goofing off. And he's like, don't let him take your joy, man. Remember, it's about the joy of tattooing. Don't let him like take your joy. Don't get so worried about, the electric bill.
Yeah. He also was one of those guys too that was like, you know what, I don't get wrapped up in the whole like us against them, younger generation, older generation thing. He was like, they're going to do what they're going to do. We're going to do what we're going to do. He's like, eventually they're going to figure out how much they should know about their history and that they are not, really doing their homework and digging into the stuff that came before them. And, we want to apologize for last week's episode of us trying to do a live stream. That was my fault.
So we thought that when we got to Social Distortion, or at least I thought that it was going to be like a packed parking lot, and we were just going to be walking around. I thought it was going to be like some kind of tailgating thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was a sold out show, but it wasn't that.
Well, we also got there super early because we go live at 6 o'clock. The show didn't start till 8.
And the what do you call it? The first band, the Del Reys,
The Del Reys,
kicked ass.
phenomenal band.
I mean, if you like the MC5, if you like the Stooges with like a little bit of soul in there,
Yeah.
so good. And you know, it's probably like my 6th time seeing Social D, right? And there really was a time when Ness was a dick. He went through his whole rock star dick thing, and he was talking. They have a new song called "Warn Me" that he wrote when he was in the middle of being treated for his throat cancer, and you could see, man, like the change in his attitude and like his humility.
Yeah.
Like it was really like it didn't come across as like what am I thinking scripted. It wasn't scripted. Dude was talking about like you don't know.
I think really what it comes down to is that he fully understands how close he was to losing it all. Not necessarily his life, but his voice, which is, you know, something that he loves to be in that band. And it almost took it away from him, man. I've seen videos of him trying to, you know, get back up to snuff with, you know, his vocals and stuff like that. And, you know, yeah, Mark said the mentors will always be down to rock. Just let me know. Mark is a member of the punk band The Mentors.
The 4-H Club.
And he's also
the 4F Club. I'm sorry.
A tattoo artist. So
find them, feel them, forget them.
But
what do you call it? So like years ago, back when Warped Tour was half decent, Social Distortion was on Warped Tour, and I saw him twice, once in Philadelphia and once at Asbury Park. And yeah, I was like an older punk rocker at the time. And I realized when I saw him the second time that Mike Ness, the banter between songs was scripted. He was saying word for word.
Oh, because you saw them so close together?
Yeah, he was saying word for word in Philly what he had been saying in Jersey.
That's interesting.
Dude, and I'll be honest, like, and since then I've talked to like music business people who were like, yo, man, you know, you gotta, you know, it's
got to flow.
It's got to flow.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking how I felt heartbroken. Like that this band that I just thought, you know, was like just this nasty, dirty punk rock band was doing scripted shows.
Yeah.
And
happens more than you think.
And that's not the dude we saw Sunday night.
No,
not at all.
Sure. I was, you know, when I first got in the music business, dude, there was an older guy that was, you know, one of my mentors. And he had said to me, man, if you can, don't ever work with a band you love.
Right.
And that's a perfect example of why. Because you start to see behind the green curtain a little bit, and you start to see some of the secrets, or maybe you really see personalities of people that you're like, you know, you hold on this pedestal that they're my rock gods, and then you find out they're a tool bag.
Yeah, don't meet your heroes.
And then you're like, oh man, it happened to me one time, man, and I just was like, I couldn't believe it. And
who was it?
It happened twice, actually. I'll give you one.
Okay.
David Lee Roth.
How did you not know David Lee Roth was a tool?
I didn't think he would be like that with people that were on the inside. And yeah.
I respect that David Lee Roth became an EMT.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, you know, got to do something, I guess. But I don't know, man. Yeah, Mark said most bands do, but most bands always do, but we don't. Yeah, it is. I mean, The only thing they'll switch is the town. And sometimes you'll even catch a band that'll screw up and say the wrong town.
Albuquerque.
Yeah, and you're in, Jersey. So it happens, man. Tom just said that's like Cannibal Corpse. I've seen videos of George Fisher joking around on stage, and then I see them and the exact same jokes. It was odd because it's, man, I think when people get this like rapport thing nailed down, they roll with it. Oh man, that worked. It's like, I don't know. Have you ever seen a comedian that maybe you've seen twice and you go, man, they told that joke the last time? Is that it? You ever seen that?
Yeah.
It's the same thing, dude.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Why not?
Because for a musician, you're there for the music, and in between the music is just banter.
Right.
For a comedian, you're there for the jokes. The jokes are the song.
But you don't think that in between a song, the guy says something and it works and goes, I'm going to use that again?
But I mean, it was scripted. It was the exact... It was just heartbreaking, dude. I mean, I'm like a punk rocker, man.
I don't know, man. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode tonight. I hope
we enjoyed being with you.
Enjoyed the
What? We enjoyed being with them.
Oh,
right.
I thought you were being a dick and talking about being with me. I'm like, what?
No, we enjoyed being with you.
As always, we enjoy your company every Sunday, 6:00.
Not that I was with you this weekend, and
I hope that
Virginia,
I was able to at least give you a little glimpse of what it was like to be at Norfolk, and
it's up here
slaving away.
I was up here doing names.
Hey man, it made you money though, right?
Dude, I really like. If I got to tell you something, if you're tattooing and you're doing well, like well enough to where like I went to New York, and going to New York meant that I couldn't go to Virginia, right? And there was a time when that would not have been an issue. New York and Virginia would have both been on the, and if you're doing well enough to where like you can do things like that as a tattooer, value it.
Yeah.
Value that. Even if you're not like killing it making money, even if you're just steady making money, making a living, that's a good thing.
All right, man. Thank you all for coming out. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for the kind words, Sarah, Drag, Mark, Tom, Fat Cracker, Chris. Who else? Nikki, Polyfizz, Micah. Who else was on tonight? Shira was on tonight. Thank you. Yeah, I said Chris Hawkins. Luz was on. I don't know if he hung to the end. Sometimes he pops in and out. But we can't do this without you guys. So thank you for coming back each and every week.
Who was the dude from Bakersfield?
That was Mark.
Welcome.
Yeah, man. Gary Bradshaw, Feast and Famine. Gary shows up. What's up, man? But thanks. We'll see you all next week.